So today in this session we will talk about the last topic in this module, that is Financial Sector Legislative Reform Commission. The recommendation we will discuss. Although this was set up in 2011 and the recommendation was in 2013, but some of the points are important with respect to your subject. So we will discuss about FSLRC recommendations. Okay, so FSLRC, you can complete it, Financial Sector Legislative Reform Commission. Who was the chairman? Justice B.N. Srikrishna. Justice B.N. Srikrishna was the chairman. FSLRC was actually established in 2011 and the report was in 2013. Okay, so even though it is in 2013, it is relevant now. Even after 5 years also it will be relevant, so that you will understand once we discuss the contents of this recommendation. So the first one, you can write the recommendation. Recommendation, the first one, various financial sector laws should be replaced by various financial sector laws should be replaced by a single principle based principle based sector neutral law. Sector neutral law. For example, like Indian Financial Code. Okay, so Indian Financial Code, IFC, to be set up. So various financial sector laws, all the laws of various financial sectors has to be replaced by a single principle based sector neutral law with Indian Financial Code. Okay, and in 2015 government actually issued a draft IFC. Okay, so it was actually under consideration for suggestion and it was put in public domain. So IFC, Indian Financial Code. Second, various financial sector regulators. Various financial sector regulators. Who are the various financial sector regulator? SEBI, right? SEBI, Forward Market Commission, FMC, IRDA. So SEBI, FMC, IRDA, PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, right? PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. So these financial sector regulators should be merged into a single regulator. Should be merged into a single regulator with unified financial agency. Unified Financial Agency, UFA. So all these has to be merged to UFA. All the various financial sector laws should be replaced with IFC. So this is UFA. This is the second recommendation. Now, what is the reason for this? Why this is required? Because there may be chances of overlap, right? Now, if you remember when we discussed about mutual fund, we have discussed about when we discussed about mutual fund, I have told you SEBI regulating it, and when we discussed about insurance, I have told you IRDA regulating it. But there was a problem when this product came, right? When ULIPs came, there was a problem between SEBI and IRDA with respect to which sector, which organization will regulate ULIPs. And finally, it was acknowledged that ULIPs is actually an insurance policy, but some units are given, so IRDA will regulate it. Okay, so similar problems should not come. That is the reason why nowadays you can see more complex products are coming. Even banks also not only providing banking service, various other services are also provided by banks. Within banks, if you see, there are many and various types of financial products like insurance, pension. Okay, all these are given by banks also. Now banks became universal banks also. We have discussed this, right? So in this context, it is always better to have a single regulator. by merging all these financial sector regulator. Okay, so just write one line over there, the why it is actually required. The need, you can, recommendation is this much only, but why it is required, just write one line. A single regulator will reduce the scope of gaps, comma, overlaps. So here the problem was with overlap, okay, comma, overlaps, comma, inconsistencies in the financial sector regulation. In the financial sector regulation. The scope of such problems has increased. The scope of such problems has increased significantly in the context of intermingling of financial services and hybrid financial products. So this is one of the example. ULIPs is one of the example for this hybrid financial products. Okay, intermingling of financial services and hybrid financial product. If you want, you can write in bracket ULIPs. Okay, so for example, banks are not only providing banking service, many other products are also now offered by bank. SBI is offering insurance, pension. Okay, so all these are there. Write one more line there. It will enable financial institution to achieve economies of scale and economies of scope. What do you mean by this economies of scale and economies of scope? Let me know first what is economies of scale. Economies of scale means if you operate in large scale, the efficiency will increase, the productivity will increase, and also the production cost will come down, right? So that is what economies of scale. Benefits of large scale production. If you go for example, if let's suppose I am producing this marker, only one marker is producing, the cost will be so high, maybe 100 rupee, 200 rupee it will cost. But if I go for large production, the price will come down to 20 rupee, 30 rupee, right? So that is a benefit that you are getting of economies of scale, large scale production. When you go for large scale production, that's what you get, the advantage that you get, the price will come down, efficiency will increase. So that's what economies of scale. Okay, so effectively average cost will come down. So average cost will come down. So this transportation, etc., right? So managerial cost, transportation cost, everything will come down. So that is an advantage of economies of scale. Now what do you mean by economies of scope? Economies of scope means it is if this is benefit out of large scale production. This is benefit out of large scale production. This is benefit of what? Economies of scope. Benefit of diversification. More the product you offer, you will get better advantage. Okay, so it is effectively based on the policy or concept of optimal use of resources. For example, I've told you the case of bank. Not only for banking, now banks are offering insurance products, okay, pension products, etc. So you use the same resource, same employees, but still you can do all these business also. So this is nothing but optimal use of resources. Okay, so that's what economies of scale and economies of scope. So if you go with this integration, this is possible. Okay, one more line you can write under that, the same, not the next point, in the second point itself. It is consistent with the unity of command principle of management. It is consistent with the unity of command principle of management. Unity of command principle of management. Okay, now the third one, this is more important. Third one, here we will spend some time. I'll explain this in detail. Just write the financial sector regulatory structure. The financial sector regulatory structure should consist of 7 institutions. Should consist of 7 institutions. The financial sector regulatory structure should consist of 7 institutions. So now what you can do is you can make 3 columns. Okay, 1, 2, like 3 columns. And in this one I need existing regulator. Okay, and then new and the function. So these 3 columns is required here. Okay, now numbers also required, so maybe one more column for number 1. Existing is RBI. Okay, so RBI new, there is no change in RBI and RBI function also. So what is the role of RBI? The role of RBI you can write the same in the function: regulation of banks, payment system, monetary policy, money market, etc. You know all this: regulation of bank, comma, payment system, comma, monetary policy, comma, money market. So all those you can write under the function of banks, RBI. Okay, RBI. So there is not replacement of RBI. Second one you can write, we have discussed that integration. Okay, so SEBI, existing you can write SEBI, and Forward Market Commission, IRDA, okay, and also PFRDA. So what was the recommendation? This has to be integrated into UFA. Okay, so UFA. Okay, now function you write regulation of all non-banking financial institutions. Regulation of all non-banking financial institution. Okay. Now third one you can write ombudsman. Currently ombudsman. Now instead of that you can write here financial redress agency, FRA. Financial redress agency. Okay, and function to resolve the consumer grievance across all financial products. To resolve the consumer grievance across all financial products. Okay, fourth one, SAT. We have discussed it before, SAT. Can you tell me which context we have discussed this? SAT, Securities Appellate Tribunal. Where I have discussed this? When I have discussed about a case, I have told you this, SAT. You remember? Which case? Sahara case. I have talked about SAT. Okay. So SAT, now new institution which is proposed is actually FSAT. Financial Sector Appellate Tribunal. SAT is Securities Appellate Tribunal. So here Financial Sector Appellate Tribunal. Okay. So what is the object? In case of SAT, it was to hear the appeals against SEBI. So here also it will be to hear the appeals against RBI, UFA and also FRA. So appeals from this you can write to hear appeals against decision of, to hear appeals against decision of financial sector regulators, financial sector regulators like RBI, UFA and FRA.
Sir, please repeat the point.
Yeah, to hear appeal against decisions of financial sector regulators like the one we have discussed, RBI, UFA, FRA. From these three, if there is any appeal, it will be heard over here. FSAT, Financial Sector Appellate Tribunal. Okay.
Is this, the UFA is in existence right now?
UFA, no.
Yeah, sir. Okay.
It was a proposal.
Yeah, but it wasn't accepted, right?
No.
Yes.
Okay, next is fifth one. But fifth one is under consideration. Even in fact, a bill was also introduced. Resolution Corporation to deal with distressed financial institute. Actually, here there is nothing. Existing nothing is there. You can leave a dash here. And new, which is proposed, Resolution Corporation to deal with distressed financial institution. In the function you can write to deal with distressed financial institution. So Resolution Corporation, here you can put a dash. Functions you can write to deal with distressed financial institution. Government actually introduced a bill in Parliament, the Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill 2016. In that there was a proposal for RC, but it was not taken forward later. Okay, next one. Next one, again continue the same. Two more is there. This is the sixth one, right? Existing, you can write middle office with RBI. Middle office with RBI. I'll tell you what is it. PDMA, Public Debt Management Agency. PDMA. Or DMO, Debt Management Office. PDMA, Public Debt Management Agency, or DMO, Debt Management Office. The function is to manage the government debt. I'll discuss about this after I complete 7th point. Okay, so this one is under RBI, this one, okay, in the middle office, which is actually under RBI, but there is a conflict of interest. If RBI is maintaining the government debt, there is a conflict of interest. I will discuss about this conflict of interest. Let me complete this 7th point now. It is FSDC, Financial Stability and Development Council. Already it is there, so it has to be made a statutory body. So you can write here FSDC to be made a statutory body. Okay, that's it. So the objective, the function is assessment of systemic risk, financial sector development, etc. Those are the objectives of FSDC: financial sector development, assessment of systemic risk, etc. In 2000, tell me.
Sir, when we make it statutory body, what is the benefit that it gets?
It will get the more powers. No, it is for more powers. If it is passed through act, more formal, more powers will be there. So like SEBI also, when we discussed before, SEBI was not statutory when it was established, but after the Harshad Mehta scam only, it got the statutory status. So it get more power. It can have more, regulatory powers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So what I was saying, yeah. In 2016 budget actually it was proposed. This PDMA was actually proposed, but it was later dropped out. Okay. The reason also I will tell you. See, when we talk about PDMA, why PDMA is required? PDMA is required because RBI, when RBI is taking care of government's debt management or the borrowing program, there is a conflict of interest. RBI is already a regulator. Okay, regulator of bank or regulator of money market. So RBI is firstly regulator. Apart from that, debt manager of government. So debt manager means it is actually acting as a merchant bank for government, right? Merchant bank for government. That means selling the bonds, etc. RBI acts as merchant bank for government and enable government to get the fund. So these two roles are actually contradictory and conflicting. Okay, so as a merchant bank to government, what RBI will focus? RBI will focus in giving fund to government at a low interest, right? RBI want to give fund to government at a low interest. So it will affect monetary policy and it will directly affect the money supply also. So that role of regulator will be compromised. If you try to reduce interest for the government, then this role may be compromised, because your objective is to reduce interest for the government, because you are managing the debt of the government. So you have to reduce interest. It will affect the monetary policy. Okay. For example, if you remember when we discussed about one of the monetary policy tool with RBI, I have told you with this instrument, RBI compel the banks to lend to government. One instrument I have told you. Under one instrument, if RBI is increasing that rate in that, it is actually compelling the banks to lend to government. What is that instrument? SLR, right? So when you are increasing the SLR, effectively what you are doing is increasing SLR. Bank have to maintain SLR. Bank have no choice. And SLR you can manage in either cash or GSEC or gold, right? So these are the three ways in which you can actually maintain the SLR. So I've told you the reasons. Cash, you won't get any return. Gold, only minimal return. So you prefer GSEC. Even though in GSEC also minimum 6 to 7% return only you will get in GSEC also. Gold even less than that. But the reason I've told you, gold is not calculated at the market price. If it is market price, gold would be much better for maintaining SLR. But if it is not market rate, right? Why it is not market rate? Because otherwise banks will demand more gold. It will lead to import of gold, and that will create further problems. So it is taken at a constant price. So this is the instrument. So if you are increasing the SLR, now what will happen? SLR increase. That means what will happen? What will be the demand of bonds? What will happen with demand for bonds? Tell me.
It will increase.
Demand for bond will increase. Demand for bond will increase means what will happen with price of bonds? Price of bonds, what will happen?
Increase.
Price of bond will increase, right? Let's say this is the government security. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so this is the government security. Let's say the maturity period will be there. So 100 is the face value. Now demand for bond is now high. So what will happen? Let's say SBI. Okay, SBI will say SBI will give 96. ICICI will quote for 95. Kotak Mahindra Bank or Punjab National Bank will quote for 92. HDFC will go for 94. Okay, and then tell me one bank. Axis Bank will go for 93. So RBI will give it to which bank out of this? Which bank will get this government security? SBI, since SBI is quoting the maximum amount, SBI will get this, right? So it is all about, this demand created. So what is the return for SBI now? The price that you are giving is 96, face value is 100, so 100 minus 96. So this close to 4% is actually the return. But if the demand was less, do you think that this price will shoot up to 96? Maybe the price would have been 93 if the demand was very less. So in that context, the return would have been slightly more, like 7% would have been there. Now the demand is so high, that's the reason why SBI is quoting high. If the demand is low, the price will come down, right? So if the demand is high, the return from the bond is also less. So actually the interest in the market also will come down based on this. It all again having an impact, right? Interest in the market will also come down. So here RBI is compelling the bank to lend to government. So effectively the demand for bonds will increase, because through bonds only this has happened, because you need to maintain under bond. So interest is actually coming down. Okay, so this is actually contradictory and conflicting in nature. That is the reason why a separate regulatory body is required for managing the debt of the government. But even though it was proposed in the budget 2016, it was dropped later, because some developing countries like Brazil, they have done this, they have experimented this, but they also reverted back later. So that is the reason why even Indian government also, even though it was proposed, but reverted back. Okay, it did not take up forward. You just write FSDC. We just mentioned about FSDC. Just write 2-3 lines. Financial Stability and Development Council. It was established in 2010. On the suggestion of G20. It promote coordination among various financial sector regulators. It promote coordination among various financial sector regulators, comma, assess systemic risk, and promote financial sector development, Okay. So who's the chairman of FSDC? It is a finance minister. Just write chairman of FSDC is finance minister. So the members include the secretaries of selected department of Government of India. The members include secretaries of selected departments of GOI, and heads of financial sector regulators. When I am talking about heads of financial sector regulator means RBI, in case of RBI governor, in case of SEBI, the chairman of SEBI, like that. Okay, and we have discussed about this, no, ULIP. I have told you it was finally decided that IRDA will regulate ULIP, right? Now, you know who took the decision? It is FSDC who took the final decision of IRDA will regulate ULIP. So they will coordinate, they will supervise, they will assess the systemic risk, etc. Okay, so that is about the third recommendation. Now fourth one, next one you can write Financial Data Management Center. Fourth one, number 4, Financial Data Management Center to be established. Financial Data Management Center to be established as a depository of financial data. Okay, next one, fifth one, autonomy and accountability of regulators to be enhanced. Autonomy increased, also accountability has to be increased. Autonomy and accountability of regulators to be increased or enhanced, and their decision making process should be made transparent. In bracket you can write their minutes of meeting to be disclosed. Next point, important, I have discussed about this when we discussed about monetary policy committee already. Just write monetary policy to be drafted by a 7-member monetary policy committee, headed by RBI governor. We have discussed it already, and we have also discussed with the current structure when we discussed about inflation. In the module of inflation, the last discussion was related to monetary policy committee. I have compared it with Urjit Patel committee also. Urjit Patel also suggested a monetary policy committee. They also suggested a committee, and the final one also we have covered over there. So that's about this module. We have done with this module.